everyone! Today we're going to be talking about vocal tone. And I get a lot of questions from singers wondering, how do I get a better tone? So I'm going to clarify what that means, and I'm going to give you 5 tips that are going to help you find your best singing voice or tone. Just a quick intro, my name is Felicia, you can call me Fel. I have a YouTube channel where I teach some singing lessons, singing tips, that kind of stuff. I also teach some online singing courses, so subscribe if you want. So the first tip I'm going to give you about your vocal tone is that you should stop thinking about tone as happening from here. So when you sing, you create breath from your core and your diaphragm and your lower back, and you create vibrations in your chord. You were born with a certain set of chords and they sound a certain way, and there's nothing you can do really to change the way your chords are. You know, it's kind of a blessing. It's like, hey, I was born with whatever voice I have. I'm not going to be able to do any manipulations here that are going to change the fundamental sound with which I sing. However, the manipulations and the changes in tone all happen up here. So my first tip is start thinking about tone as resonance off of your body, and specifically as resonance off of your face. The second tip I have for you is to not think of tone as an intellectual concept. I found that when I was studying voice, and now to this day, I'll hear a lot of words thrown around to describe vocal tone as being light or bright or covered. There's just like all these different ways people describe tone. And a lot of them are kind of meaningless. And tone itself is a term that's like very all-encompassing. So what I'm going to encourage you to do as my second tip is to think of resonance or tone in terms that make sense to you. So when I'm working with voice students, or even when I'm practicing on my own, I talk about the baby cry. Wah, wah, wah. Now for me, that causes me to think of a baby, try to imitate a baby, and then to place the tone in a forward place, which is actually in my pharynx or my pharyngeal cavity right here, which is very helpful for singing. If you've watched some of my other videos, you know I talk a lot about the mask. But that's one example. There's all kinds of manipulations that you can do with resonance, but I wouldn't worry about trying to say, oh, is this dark? Is this colorful? Like, is it covered? I mean, a lot of those words are very meaningless. So make sure that when you're practicing, you have a mental map and you have mental triggers like the baby cry, like, you know, pretentious voice. Things that help you remember where to place your sound in your face. So the third tip has to do with your natural tone. And I get questions about, how do I know if I'm singing something naturally or if I'm doing something really forced? The main thing you can do to check in to say, is this a natural tone or am I just kind of imitating someone else who's not me, is to use your speaking voice. Whenever students are approaching something and I find that they're tense or they're getting in their head, I just say, well, let's speak it. Let's speak the lyrics. And we can even speak it on the pitch. So say you're singing, ah, and you're getting kind of cramped and you don't really know where to place it. I say hey, 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 and you can even say hey, and then you can say the lyric on a more speaky tone. You know, if you're using that tone, that resonance for your speaking voice, chances are it's a very natural placement for you. And it doesn't come with a lot of tension or a lot of added pressure. So it's a really good place to start when you're like, what do I really sound like? And if your singing voice is dramatically different from your speaking voice, I would say that's a cue that you're doing some added manipulations, maybe adding some tension, maybe placing the voice in a location that's not optimal. So my next tip is that once you're comfortable with this concept of resonance as being tone, meaning placement in your head and your face as being the only thing really that you can control in order to manipulate your tone, I would really encourage you to start playing target practice while you warm up. You use a simple vowel, something like even nya or ah, to help to aim your sound in different places. And really take some time during your warm-ups to work exclusively on resonance. Another word for resonance is placement. I also just use that. So tone, placement, resonance, these are all words sort of for the same thing. So maybe you're thinking, I wanna work on my kind of opera sound, but I don't really know what that means. Maybe you open your mouth and it doesn't sound like opera. Maybe it sounds like, why don't I sound like an opera singer? Okay, well there's 2 things you can do. You can open your mouth more and manipulate the shaping of the sound, the shaping of how the sound spins. And 2, you can mentally manipulate where you're aiming. So if I want to sound like an opera singer, I would open my mouth more. I would aim a little bit further back because opera sounds versus which is more forward. Now, how did I do that? I changed the shape. I changed where the sound vibrates, where it lives, how it spins. And I also, and this is important, I visualized it. And that's something that I can't really show you or like teach you how to do. It really comes from, again, target practice. Hanging out with your voice, drawing a mental map. You could even close your eyes if you want. Draw a mental map of the space. Take note of how the voice changes when you manipulate it differently. And I think that that'll be really helpful for you as you try to develop your tone and develop your repertoire of the different ways that you can create sound. My final tip for you, my friends, is not to get ahead of yourself when it comes to vocal tone. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of icing that you can put on your singing cake in terms of stylizations, in terms of creating really interesting sounds. And there's like tons of things you can do. Again, all happening up here in your face and your head, not happening here, all up here. You grow your voice by simplicity and by not putting too much on it. You know, you gotta bake the cake first before you add the flowers and before you create a really interesting stylized tone. It can be kind of frustrating if you're trying to go for an end result, or you want to record a song, or you're really working on your pop or rock singing or something and you like have a result in mind. But I would say don't get ahead of yourself. Work primarily in a more natural place. And that's really how you're going to grow the voice and create a really rich tone that makes sense for you. And then you can work with a vocal coach to add interesting things like breathiness or vocal fry or manipulate the resonance even more. So that concludes this video on vocal tone. Thank you so much for watching and for leaving me questions on my page. Please leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought. Maybe give me some suggestions about what to do next. And if you liked this video, please share with friends, maybe subscribe to my channel. Also, I talk a lot about resonance and tone and placement for belting in my completely free belting course. It's at beltingcrashcourse.com and has some video lessons, some audio downloads. It's a lot of fun, so definitely check it out if you're interested in working with me on your belting and your tonal placement for that. Thanks guys, and I'll see you next time.